Let's begin with the vaccine rollout. The Prime Minister says that mass vaccination sites could be open across the country in the coming months. Is this the answer to speeding up our rollout?
Morning, Danica. And yes, look, I think it's part of the answer. Clearly the vaccine rollout is a complete shemozzle at the moment. The government's had the last, 6 to 8 months to plan this, and it's really gone off the rails for a number of issues. Some of it's around supply, some of it's around distribution, some of it's about the Commonwealth thinking that they can do more than they actually can. So I think any readjustment that brings in more resources and gets this vaccine rolled out quicker than is currently happening is welcome, because we need the vaccine rollout to be successful, not just for the health and safety of Australians, but also to ensure that our economic recovery can be as strong as possible.
To what extent, though, are those issues that you mentioned out of the government's control? I mean, nobody could have foreseen the AstraZeneca advice changing for under 50s.
Well, that's just one of the issues, Danica, that has been a problem. I mean, that's been the latest problem, but we've had problems from the get-go. If you remember the promises made by the government, pretty much every promise they've made around the vaccine has been broken in terms of timeline and targets. We've got vulnerable populations in aged care and disability that haven't been able to get vaccinated. We're heading into winter, which is, a critical time for any illness, let alone the COVID virus, to have an impact on the community. And so I think it's a number of factors. I don't think the government is in any position to say this is all outside of our control. That is simply not tenable. The Prime Minister said this was his number one priority back at the beginning of this year. Well, he needs to do a lot better on his number one priority, because the country depends on the government getting this right and getting it done as soon as possible.
All right, I want to ask you now about former Australia Post Chief Christine Holgate. She claimed that she was bullied into leaving her position. She also says that gender was an issue in her departure. Do you think that that was a factor?
I've listened to what Christine Holgate has said, and I think it has to be a part of it. I mean, we all know, and we've all seen all across our TV screens and newspapers over the last couple of months the problems that this Prime Minister has with women. He sacrificed her on the floor of the Parliament in a very angry manner, and I haven't seen him do that to others, particularly men, and I've seen him protect them at any cost. So there was certainly a double standard in the way that she was treated, and I think we have to listen to her. It was her experience. That is how she felt, and I can't recall ever seeing anyone sacked on the floor of the Parliament by the Prime Minister, as happened in her situation. It was an extremely unfortunate and clearly very distressing for her.
So do you think that if it was a man in charge who gave Cartier watches to staff, do you think he would have remained in the job?
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, clearly the Prime Minister has an issue with women. We know that. It's not just through Christine Holgate, it's through the Brittany Higgins saga, it's through the fact that he wasn't aware of how, significant issues around violence and sexual assault for women actually were. There's been a whole range of issues over the last few months. So it's hard to say, but what we can say is we've had male minister after male minister that's been protected by this Prime Minister. The same protection that he's offered others was not afforded to Christine Holgate, and she wasn't, as I said, I haven't seen anyone sacked on the floor of the Parliament in public before. That is what happened to her. The Prime Minister got angry, he lost control, and he overreached, certainly in terms of how he should have conducted that discussion with Christine Holgate. It shouldn't have been done on the floor of the Parliament in public and broadcast across the nation.